Soccer World Cup. Red card for Qatar. Welcome to Mark and Pete. Here's a thought.
Hosting the World Cup in Qatar may seem bizarre as the FIFA leaders look on smugly, with human rights crossing the bar like a fallen star. Has the beautiful game turned ugly? Well, FIFA President Gianni Infantino has accused the West of hypocrisy. Now, this was based on the idea that Qatar's human rights record during the whole build-up to the World Cup has really hit a lot of controversy. Many people have seen that the whole entire showcase of soccer has ironically been overshadowed by the major issues of Qatar's human rights issues. Now, this isn't just simply about migrant workers, but also the treatment of LGBT people. The point here is that each country has different values. Now, my question to you, Clergyman Pete, is not so much on a footballing level, but what lessons can be learned about hosting such an important event?
Yeah, now I'm very much in favour of Qatar hosting this event. I think the way to get people to change their minds about things is to be friendly to them. They have their own ways of running things. Qatar are their own sovereign state. They have their own culture, and you're not going to change that by not letting them hold the World Cup, or by staying away, or by doing rude, unpleasant protests. The best way is to be friendly. Let it be a good, successful World Cup. Let them enjoy being part of this, and then there's at least a possibility that they'll want to change. Not that likely, but the thing is even less likely the other way. I mean, I think that they are wrong in the abuses, the human rights issues that are there. I mean, in the Bible, it does say that each human being is made in the image of God. Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness. And then it goes on to say in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul says, you were called for freedom. And it goes on to say that you're free from being slaves, but you should love one another. The whole law, he goes on, is summed up in a single commandment: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So I think that human rights are very important. If we look at what the United Nations says about human rights, one of the points that they say is this as a starting point on human rights. This is a direct quote: all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. This, though, as you can see, the Bible verses and that declaration about human rights fit together, and I think that this supports what I was just saying. In fact, I based it on this. That yes, this means that the way that Qatar treats some of its citizens, treatment of women, treatment of LGBTQ plus people, the treatment of migrant workers, that's wrong, the way that they treat them. But it would be equally wrong for us to freeze them out of taking part in big sporting events. We treat them with dignity as part of the brotherhood, and we then have an opportunity to change them. They are, it declares here, and I believe it's true, endowed with reason and conscience, so there's a chance that they will change. What do you think, Mark?
Well, here's my take on this, and this is from a commercial perspective as well as also a humanitarian one. Sport, in my opinion, brings people together. I also think that what it does do is it actually gets people to understand different cultures. If you think about soccer being probably one of the most popular sports in particular, it has seen the advantages of people not just following the game itself and the progress of individual teams and individuals, learning more about where they come from and how they all work together in that way, but also the venues and the countries in which you get a sense of culture. We've seen this over the years. I think on the positive side, what I'm looking for is learnings on both sides. Learnings from the Qatar government to understand our values, similarly the other way around. Now, what's interesting here is that the comments that have come from both the Qatar government and Infantino, the actual president of FIFA himself, and I'll just give you some examples. This is where I think learnings have to come in. So the Qatar government said that it was totally misleading in terms of the number of people who died. So in the last year, the reports are that 6,500 migrant workers from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and many others had died in Qatar since the successful World Cup bid. But what was interesting is that the Qatar government said that that was misleading because not all the deaths were recorded related to the World Cup events. And I keep thinking, so does that make it good? No, it doesn't. So standards have actually slipped there. And I think that Qatar needs to recognize that we have a standard to say that's not acceptable for the following reasons. Now, I'm taking that again, obviously, from a commercial perspective, because when you think of the impact to those lives and to those individuals and families, etc., that's not acceptable. And so I think we are right to champion the better standards when it comes to things like engineering, construction, and management of these type of events. On the other side, it's interesting that Infantino said, this is him being interviewed, said, "We have been taught many lessons from Europeans and the Western world. I am European," he said. For what we have been doing for the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before giving moral lessons. He does go on and talk about this one-sided moral lesson is just hypocrisy. I wonder why no one recognizes the progress made here since 2016. He's talking about Qatar. Here's the point. I'm not trying to mix up the different points, but the thing is we have values and standards, and we can have proof points in life. I think that what we're really looking about are really the common values of Christianity and any other kind of religion, whether they are Islam, whether they are Buddhism or anything else. It's respect, it's integrity, it's about honor, it's about many other things, about ensuring people are fairly treated. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. You can still understand and practice your religions. But my worry, what's happened with the World Cup this time, is there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of clashing, whether it be on commerce, whether it be on religion, whether it be on humanitarian issues. And I'm just worried that what's actually happened, ironically, what should be a showcase for not just evangelizing a sport, but evangelizing the different cultures, it's become a cocktail of disaster, in my opinion. And I think that really, this is why I come back to lessons need to be learned about how to bring people together better. That's my take on it. There is, of course, the other side of it, and I'll come from a business side. The World Cup, without any doubt, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the prize to host any type of event like this, similarly, probably the only other event that I can think of that gets that surpasses it is the Olympic Games. But the World Cup, the Soccer World Cup, is one of the biggest sporting events, and commercially there is a lot at stake. And we can't ignore that. And I think that the next time round, again, lessons need to be learned. Is it right that a certain country should host something? Are they best set up? Do they have the right standards? And so we avoid this horrible scenario, the them and us situation. But that's my take on it. I mean, I don't know whether you've got any other colour around that.
No, I think we're in agreement here, Mal, that really it's best to have the sporting event, in this case the Soccer World Cup, going ahead there, because then you are including them, and sport, as you say, can bring people together.
It should do.
At a human level. And so it can then cut through other differences. Now, I agree that all different societies, all different cultures have their positives and negatives, and they're going to disagree. One thing that I think positive that can come out of this, though, is that obviously England will win. So I think.
Well, here's my take.
No, I mean, I'm being flippant now. Obviously, I think one thing the positive can come out of it is that we can grow closer together. The brotherhood of man, you know, to be soppy about it, is at least enhanced a little bit by playing a silly sport together. Now, I think England's going to win because I know nothing about soccer.
Clearly,
I don't even know who's in the tournament. So, but just in closing,
well, you know that Qatar is in it.
Yeah, Qatar must be in it. So tell me, who is going to win then, Mark?
Well,
let the listeners know first. You make
folks.
A prediction.
Well, my prediction is that there are some excellent teams, without any doubt. Each year, each season, each tournament, it gets more and more competitive, and it's very difficult to predict. But I just hope that this time, the state of respect wins.
Oh, the state of respect wins. Nice one. See what he did there? Leave your comment below. Remember to like this episode, unless you hated it, and then in which case dislike it. And it's goodbye from Mark and myself, and catch you next time. Bye.